Alright, so I line up my two pieces of fabric right sides together. If you're working with a solid color, it's not as important. You can't really tell which side's which. Line them up. And I like to line up my fabric with this edge right here with the needle at center. I've got mine set to a tension of 3 and a length of 3 also. So, back stitch at the beginning, and then just sew it. If you don't feel comfortable sewing without pins, just put a few in to keep it lined up. So that would be one side, that would be the front, the outside. And then this is my inside fabric for this one. So we've got the 2 layers, good sides facing each other. And we'll do the same thing. And that would be the first sewing, and you do all of them this way before you move on to the next step. Alright, the next thing you're going to do is you're just going to trim all of them apart. It doesn't have to be pretty, just get off the strings. And this is why you chain them together. It makes it go so much quicker. I'll just do that with your whole line of them. And that's it for that part. Alright, so now I'm going to change my thread. Not sure if you know how to do this on this machine. So you just go through there, here, down here, and then loop it up and make sure you catch it on here. And then you go down, and then I'll show you the other part. Not sure how well you'll be able to see this, but you loop it through this area, and then there's another loop at the top of the needle that you loop it through. And then for my machine, I've got this, if I can see it from here, here we go. This little guy helps you thread. So you go through, it's hard to do it with a camera in front of me. So you go, I guess you're supposed to go through here, and then you go through here. And there's a little notch right here that you have to catch. Oh. Yeah. And then it pulls it through. So it's just this little itsy bitsy notch, and then it pulls it right on through. Or you could just do it by hand, but that's easier for me. And then it's pulled through, and then make sure to pull your thread far enough back. For this, I only need to change the top thread because you're not going to be able to see the bottom thread anyway, so it doesn't have to match. Alright, so for this, you're going to start with, you're going to sew from the side that you're going to be able to see, and we're going to sew this part down. So you're going to push it over to the left. And you'll be able to do a few inches at a time. And for this one, I switch my needle position to the far left. And everything else is going to stay the same. And then I position it so that this little nub and this little line right here are going to follow the seam. And that gives me a nice position. And then you just go slow and make sure that that bottom stays to the left. And keep it pulled so that it doesn't bunch up on you. So I keep pushing this back over and then pulling this way. Not hard, just enough to keep it in place. Back stitch. And then that is how that's going to look. It's just going to help hold it in place give it a little extra support and help with any type of fraying. And then I'll do the same thing with the lining fabric. Fold it over to the left. I start at the nose and work my way down. And then I just line this up again with the center seam and back stitch. Make sure it's all pulled together. For the next stage, we're going to take the two pieces, put them good sides together, and then you're going to line up the seams. So you're going to line them up like that, and then you'll put a pin in here to hold it in place. And then you could either put 2 more pins going down either side to hold it in place, or you could just sew it like that. Totally up to you, how you feel comfortable. If you want it to stay together. And then you just, I've got my needle in center position, and I'm going to line the fabric up right here. And then I'm just going to sew right along that edge. Hold it down, around this curve. Then reposition your fabric if you didn't put pins in. Finish up this length. And then make sure to back stitch. Then we're going to do the exact same thing to the other side. We'll just pin and sew the bottom also. Alright, next I'm going to show you how to do the casing. So you're going to take 4 pieces of pipe cleaners and you're going to twist them together. I used an electric drill and I just put one end of all 4 of them together in the end of the electric drill and held the other end and then spun it and it twisted them together. Made it a lot faster, but that's how I did it. And then I cut them in half. So this would have been 1 set of them. And then I cut them in half, and then I cut the bias tape so that it is approximately 7 inches, because once I fold over the edges of this to make it so that this sharp metal isn't pokey anymore, then we're going to sew a casing for them. And I'll show you how to do that in just a minute. Alright, for this area, for the casing, I'm just got the needle centered. And it's at a tension of 3 and a length of 3. And then I just open up my bias tape and then I fold it just in half. And I fold over this end. And I'm just going to go like that. And we're just going to sew the whole length of it. All the way to the other end. When it wants to work for me. There we go. And it doesn't have to be any specific way, it just needs to be a casing. You're not going to see it. Alright, and then that's it for the casings, and you'll do all of them, sew all of these at once, and then before you move on to the next step of sewing them onto the mask. Alright, so after I made my casing, and it's sewn down on this one side, and it goes straight like that, I fold it, and I do have a little notch that is the halfway mark. Oops. Alright, so then I position it on my fabric, find the center seam, and then you're going to sew it that direction, from left to right. You can pin it, I just don't. Alright, and I don't quite line it exactly up. I go a little bit below it, and I don't go over as far as my initial seam is. So that's how that goes. And just stay pretty close to the edge. And you don't sew all the way to the end. You stop before you hit the end because you need to have enough room to fold it over. Alright, and that's it for that part. Now I'm going to slide the pipe cleaner in here, and then I'll sew it shut. Alright, so I first start, oh, there we go again. Alright, so I first start by folding over these ends. Just don't want to poke anybody, unless you did it when you first cut them. Alright, so then both sides are done, and then you either open it like this, or you can use a little tool, a pencil, whatever makes it easy for you to get it open so you can slide in the pipe cleaner. Well, yeah, there you go. And then you just slide in the pipe cleaner all the way till you get to the end of the casing. Then you pull it like that. And now you're going to sew this edge shut, and then you're going to fold it over and just sew it in place. Alright, so I take this piece, so you just sewed along here, and then you left yourself about an inch of room here. And now you're going to take that, you're going to fold it back, and you're just going to enclose that casing so that it can't come out. Alright, and now you just fold it over and then sew along the top, just to hold it in place. And that's it for that. Alright, now that we've sewn the top, the bottom, put in the casing, now it is time to flip it right side out. And then you have to kind of maneuver the nose around so that it forms the right shape. And then so that I don't accidentally sew over the metal piece, I come through with some paper clip. Well, I don't know what they're actually called. Clips. I bought these at, I think, Dollar Tree. Alright, and then trying to make sure that seam is nice and straight, and that it's pushed down. And then so here's the nose piece right here. And then I just pull it down and then line up that seam again, and then connect here. And here's the metal. So the metal goes through here, all the way to here and here. Alright. And then you just straighten out the bottom. Don't have to pin this area. You can adjust it as you go, because you don't have to worry about sewing over any metal pieces. And now you're just going to top stitch along here, and you'll top stitch along here, and I'll show you how that's done. Alright, for the top stitching for this one that I'm working on, it's green on top and bottom, so I changed my top thread to green, and I'm going to change my bottom thread to green also. There we go. And then we pull it up. There we go. Alright, so I'm holding the nose in place with these. And then we just come over here. You can put more on to hold it in place, or you can do it without them too if you feel comfortable. Alright, so I've got my needle position to the far left, and I'm going to line it up this area with the edge of the fabric. And then I'm just going to go all the way around and top stitch the whole way. It's just a placer, just to help keep it in place until I get to it. And then I use my finger right here to hold it in place as I go around the curves. And I remove this one, and I'm holding it in place with this finger just to make sure it doesn't move. Last thing I want is to accidentally run over that, because it's a real pain when you break a needle because you hit metal, and kind of scary too when you have metal pieces flying in the air, and probably not good for your machine. And then we just want to make sure that this end is also going to be lined up, so the fold, and then you just keep it all the way to the end. Doesn't have to be perfect, but that's about how I do it. And then I just go down the other side. This side I don't have anything to hold it in place. You can, but I just line them up as best as I can. I'm wearing gloves, so it's a little slippery, but that's because my skin doesn't do well with fabric. So good way to do this if you are wearing gloves also is to have a little ramekin or bowl next to you that has water in it, and then you can just dip your finger in to get some extra grip. And you just keep going all the way down this side. Now from here, we're going to trim it, and trim it, and on the other side we got to trim. Normally you do all of these at once, so you do all the tops at once, and then you'd go back through, trim them all, and then you do all the bottoms at once. But for this video, I'm just showing you how to do one at a time. Alright, and then you're going to fold over, and then you fold over. You can measure it too. It's in the instructions on the template. And then you're going to go down this, and this is what makes the casing for the ties. Little casing here. And you'll do the same thing on this side. You'll just hold the needle upright. There we go. Alright, and then you're going to just fold over. This is to get rid of that raw edge, so it's not fraying on you in the wash. Sew it all the way down. Alright, and that's that. Alright, then for the ties that I use 1/2" bias tape. You can also use 1/4 inch, or you can use a variety of other materials. And I fold over the end, and I've got my needle on the left side, and I've got the opening right here. So I'm just going to slightly go over that, and then I'm going to turn it, and then I'm just going to sew the entire length just to keep it shut. And then we're going to feed it through the casing. Doesn't have to be perfect, just sewn together. And if you need this to be narrower, you can also fold it in half again. If your casing ends up being too small, you can fold it a second time. You can also use elastic, which doesn't require you to do this. Or you can use tie material, like shoelaces. You can also use grosgrain ribbon. With ribbon, though, you need to make sure that it is not the stitching kind that's slippery. It has to be the grosgrain ribbon. And then it has some texture to it for it to actually stay tied. To see with the camera in front of my face. You just fold it up like that, and sew over it. And then fold it. And go over it a few times. We're going to end up tying this at the end after we've fed it through the casings. Alright, so next we are going to feed it through the casing. You can use a variety of tools for this. You can use this tool, a pipe cleaner. You just tie it around the end of your thing. You can use, well, I can't find it. I do have safety pins. And oh, here it is. You can use a safety pin. With this, you just slide it in. And it hooks into place like that. And then you just push it and pull it right on through. Well, of course it's going to get stuck on me. There we go. And there you go. And that's how you do it. And then you just feed it down the other side. And whether or not you want the loop at the top or the bottom. So this would go around the back of your head. And then it would come down and it would tie behind your neck. Or you could have the loop around your neck with the tie going at the top of your head. So it just depends on which position you would like it to end in. Personally, with the tie going around the neck and tying in the back of the head. Because then you can untie the back of it, which is at the top of your head, and it will fall down to around your neck, and it's not going to just drop to the floor or anything like that. So you can take it off and it can just hang if you need it to. Let's say you get to your car and you want to take off your mask, but you don't want to completely take it off and misplace it or whatnot. So you just flop it. Like this is your face, you'd untie this area and then you'd flop it down and this area would stay around your neck.